Jermaine Russell. I am a trained medical scientist in microbiology and a 2018 MBA Healthcare Administration candidate. For the next couple of minutes, I'll be discussing with you your blood pressure and how to manage your risk. Now, there's a process in doing this. So, the very first step is identifying the risk. After we identify, we want to assess the risk, then control it. Then, upon total completion, we would like to review the risk so we can be able to move forward to live a healthy, long, productive life. Now, in identifying the risk, we want to ensure that we know who's being affected, where, and even how. So, as you could tell by the map of America, heart disease related deaths and between 2008 and 2010 have been astronomically high along the eastern border of America to middle America. So one half of the country is ill equipped against the statistics of high blood pressure in their life. One in every three adults have high blood pressure. And out of that, out of those adults, you have 1,100 deaths that were contributed to high blood pressure in 2014. Now that's not even discussing the services that have been put into ensuring that people do not suffer from heart disease related deaths, in which blood pressure is one of them, contributing to $48.6 billion. Now, $48.6 billion that the government and non government services have been able to put into preventing high blood pressure, that's only a portion of the amount of dollars that is being spent in healthcare. Think about that. Now, when we're continuing from identifying the risk, we want to assess the risk. What are the behavioral, even medical problems that a person encounters when trying to combat high blood pressure? Pre-hypertension. Now, I will be going over the numbers and identifying what is pre-hypertension. But pre-hypertension is the early indication of assessing the risk. It's the early indication of knowing where a person might be when they are looking at their blood pressure. Diabetes. Biochemically, we have a system within our body that allows us to be able to digest glucose at a rapid amount. Now, if there is too much glucose in our body, now it does become an enemy by adding in visceral fat and making it harder for you to be able to digest the amount of glucose that your body does need. And that visceral fat does play a contributing factor in the way that your blood pressure is affecting your health. So in order to do this, we have to be able to control we have to be able to control not just diabetes, but our behavior towards high blood pressure. Tobacco smoking. Now, if we're adding pressure from the smoke that contributes to this high blood pressure, then it's going to make it a whole lot difficult. We already have in the blood, while the blood is pushing against the artery wall, you add smoke on top of it. Now you have another added pressure that's pushing against the artery wall, and it's making it even more difficult for the blood pressure to come down. So tobacco smoking is definitely a contributing factor. High sodium, low potassium. Now, what is astounding is that the body is able to chemically or electrochemically balance out between sodium and potassium. In every cell, there are 3 sodiums to two potassiums. So as sodium is coming into the cell, potassium is going out of the cell, and vice versa, to ensure that this balance is maintained. Balance is always the key of life, and your body does that without you needing to think about it. Now, if you are eating high sodium content food, then this concentration of sodium is definitely going to imbalance. High concentration of sodium is going to imbalance the amount of potassium that your body would need in order for it to come into the cell and allow that electrochemical gradient within the cell to be balanced. Now, because there's so much sodium being produced, the amount of water is starting to swell around the cell. Now, makes the cell that is around the arteries swell, and not even swell in a good reason, but to swell to create more pressure, to swell to create more volume, so that your blood can be able to flow to all the organs that are necessary for it to happen, to function properly. Now, too much sodium will not allow these organs to function properly. So knowing that our sodium intake is definitely key. Lack of physical activity, when people do not exercise as often, this will definitely affect the way that their blood pressure moves. So if you are just sitting down majority of the time and you're eating, you're sitting and you're eating, you're in front of your computer sitting and eating, it will definitely affect the way that your body is able to process blood pressure. And your blood pressure will definitely go a lot higher than when it was if you were not to just be sitting around and lacking that physical activity. Now, high alcohol consumption, to piggyback off of that lack of physical activity, let's say that you're sitting down for an extended amount of time with a couple of your friends and you're enjoying rounds of drinks. Now you're sitting already, and the alcohol already raises your blood pressure. The alcohol already is adding in to how high your blood pressure could actually go. So your blood pressure and repeated binge drinking, more than three drinks is naturally considered binge drinking every time you go out. And if you're having more of this and you're sitting down often, this will definitely lead to long-term effects on not just your high blood pressure, because the alcohol is increasing your blood pressure, but to the activity level of each organ within your body. So it will dramatically decrease its capabilities. So, we don't want that. We want to make sure that we have less than two drinks when we go out and actually control the amount of alcohol that we are consuming. And then lastly, when it comes to alcohol consumption, is that it does add on to or contributes to unwanted weight gain. So if there is more weight that's being added into your body because of the calorie content within the alcohol that you might be consuming, then one could definitely say that alcohol consumption will definitely lead to or can contribute to obesity. So lack of physical activity, high alcohol consumption, high sodium, obesity. So these all are factors that are medical and behavioral that all contribute to having high blood pressure. Now, let's go over a couple of things when it comes to these numbers. First off, let's explain what is normal blood pressure. Normal blood pressure is 120 over 80 millimeters per mercury. That's what the mmHg stands for, millimeters per mercury. And when you have a blood pressure that's 120 over 80, the first number, 120, is systolic pressure. The second number, diastolic pressure. So systolic pressure essentially means that there's an amount of pressure in your arteries during contraction. So when your blood pressure is contracting, or when your your heart is contracting, that blood that is being squirted out by the heart to the arteries has a different pressure, has a certain pressure, which is high. that systolic pressure is that blood that's going through all the systemic organs within your body, and that pressure, it can squeeze out really, really good, right? Really good at a normal of 120. Diastolic pressure is your pressure when the amount of blood in your heart is in between beats. So let's say that your heart beats and it squeezes, that's systolic. And then when it relaxes, that's diastolic, because that's in between beats. In between beats is that relaxation. So now that we know what normal blood pressure is, and we can see that 120 and 180 over 120 over 80 is relatively normal. Now we understand what prehypertension is. Prehypertension is that first indication that a person might be having or gradually going towards higher blood pressure. So, because that a person might now know that they're going towards higher blood pressure, if a person who has not been able to adapt to that and change some of their behavioral issues related to high blood pressure, it will go higher. Your pressure will go higher based on the factors that we talked about before. Tobacco smoking, diabetes, lack of physical activities, high sodium. These things that are definitely indicative of a person who will gain higher blood pressure. And because these things are such a contributing factor, if a person does not take notice of this, it does not realize that they're having, that they are suffering from confusion and from headaches and convulsions, and their eye might be twitching a little bit more than necessary, and their sugar levels are high through the roof, and they're starting to get a heart attack, or their kidneys are not producing properly, and these are all contributing factors to high blood pressure. So why not take the initiative to ensure that your pressure is much better than what it could or what it was? So let's we're trying to make sure that we can control the actual risk that is associated. But so in order to controlling high blood pressure, what we say to do is we exercise regularly. Take in less amounts of sodium. Quit smoking. And very key, if you are hypertensive and your physician has prescribed you with medication, please, please, please take it. Why not have a head start? If you're about to do a triathlon or a marathon, let's go with a marathon. New York City Marathon is coming up very soon. So let's say that you wanted to do this marathon as a person, right? And you say, you know what, I'm going to do the marathon tomorrow. Why not have you started last year? Last year you could have got your head start by doing all the things that are necessary. You wanted to train better, or eat better. You wanted to get the right clothes, to get the right music. All the things that are contributing factors towards your successful output in running this marathon. So having high blood pressure is like running a marathon. So why not get a head start by having your physician giving you medication and then weaning you off slowly so you can behaviorally control your blood pressure. So these are some home remedy ideas that have been given from home remedies or 10 top 10 home remedies.com that I felt like were very effective, that I've noticed that many people have used and they have seen successful results. So I decided to share it with you. All right. So essentially, I have received all of my statistics or all of my information regarding to public health from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. So please feel free to access the website where you would get this information from. Now, if you have any more questions or anything that you want to discuss with me, please feel free to hit me on social media. My Twitter handle is Health for Soul. My Instagram name is Body by Mano, and of course you can catch me on Facebook, which is L Jermaine Russell. So thank you for listening, and I hope to be able to produce more of these informational videos for you. Thank you so much.